What's up, config? I missed you all. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining from. My name is George Rust, and I'm on the product team here at Figma.
And I'm Angel Annunziaso, and I'm on the research team here at Figma. We've got an incredible after lined up for you, but before we get into that, I am still buzzing from this morning's keynote. So I'm curious, I have to ask, researcher, sorry, how many of you are excited about trying something new or retrying something because of something you saw in the keynote this morning?
Anyone? Oh, yeah, I love that. The keynote ended like, what, an hour ago? And I'm sure this room is already thinking about all the amazing things they can build.
That's the config spirit.
So before we get started, just a couple of quick notes. If your phone is about to make an unexpected appearance out here, let's put it on silent and give our speakers our attention.
One of the best things about config is the incredible people it brings together. Some of the best ideas that you have coming out of the next 2 days might come from the person sitting right next to you.
So let's make this a great group to be in. Let's be curious, supportive, and fully listening to the speakers who are up here on stage. All right, let's get on to our agenda.
All right, as I mentioned, we've got an incredible afternoon planned for you. You're going to be hearing from designers, artists, engineers, as well as the product teams that brought you all the incredible things you saw this morning.
So to kick us off, let's start with the team behind one of the most moving launches you saw this morning. Please welcome the team behind Motion, Dave, Daniela, and Luca.
Hey everyone, how about that intro video all made in Figma Motion? Pretty incredible, every bit of animation. So I'm Luca, I'm an engineering manager here on our motion and interaction design teams at Figma.
And I'm Daniela, a designer within our expressive design area.
Yeah, and you might have noticed Dave's name up there, but unfortunately he got caught up after the keynote. He might be able to join us later, but we're not gonna let that stop us. Who is ready to get moving? There we go, all right. Now, let's move on up here. Hold on. Go ahead, Danielle.
So we're gonna cover a number of topics like simple animations, multiplayer and commenting, complex animations. And also, we're gonna cover some new motion workflows that you're definitely gonna be excited about. And we're also gonna talk about exporting to production and some sneak peeks of what's coming next.
Yeah, now in addition to that amazing launch video, there's been a lot of fantastic work made by the Figma team. So before we get into that getting started, we want to show a few of the things made by our team and the partners in our alpha. Starting with, here is an amazing set of animations created by Fabian on our team, mixing a bit of auto layout, color styles, keyframes, effects to create this beautiful set of app intro and interaction animations. Here, we have a lovely little motion composition created by using components inside of Figma to stack these animations on top of each other. Here we've got a set of product animations built by Fifi, which actually landed inside of Figma today. Here's a set of icon animations created by Adana using some variables and modes to quickly switch between those color styles while preserving the animation. We can even make character animations. Here's a little vectorized Frankenstein face that mixes some vectors and some effects to create a little bit of a spooky styling. And this one just came in from Igor. I mean, like, look at that. That is fantastic. Stellar work. That is awesome. So these examples give you a quick like little look into what types of things you can make inside of Figma Motion. So yeah.
And let's ease our way into it with a demo. So we are going to go through the most basic building blocks of motion. Adding animation to existing designs is actually pretty easy. And first, let's just open motion mode. And if you look down here, you're going to see this amazing toolbar with the new motion icon. And let's just go into it. And we're going to notice that here we have a new timeline. And on the left side over here, you see that we have a lot of different new controls. For example, you can just play this animation right into Figma, right on canvas. And we're also going to have some auto keyframing, which we're also going to discuss slightly bit later. We also have some controls for the current time, which is basically a position of our playhead. We also have some controls for the whole duration of your animation. So basically, if you want to adjust this, you can adjust this in this input, or also you can just drag this control, and it's also going to change the duration of your animation over here. You can also change the time format. So if you prefer, for example, to work in seconds, it's also going to be possible for you to switch. And you can also change some looping settings. So let's say that we have here ping pong, but you can also change the looping or like whatever settings you basically prefer in this case. And you can also collapse layers over here just to kind of like have like slightly bit more condensed timeline if you want this. And if you're going to try to like scrub this playhead, you see that animation is running again right on this canvas, which is also pretty amazing. You can also adjust the height of this timeline over here. You can also adjust the zoom level on this side. And you can also collapse your timeline if you need a little bit of more space on the canvas. And you might also notice that over here, we have some new properties panel. But what is really amazing about this particular thing is that we actually try to keep design mode and motion mode aligned as much as possible, but still like making some space for new additional things like keyframes. So you see that all properties that they used to have actually right now have this nice, amazing icon, which is the keyframe. And we also have this new section which calls animation styles for new animation styles over here. So let's just try to create some new animation. I have this nice illustration over here without any animations. And we have on the right side here this animation section, right? And if I just hit this plus button, it basically just adds position style over here. And you see that we have this flyout with a lot of different settings, which actually helps you to make like a little bit more control over this particular animation. And we can also adjust distance, delay, duration here, but I can also use this control to adjust this right on a timeline. And if I just keep stacking those animations over here, so let's say that I also want to scale and maybe some rotation and also maybe some change of size, but maybe I'm going to change this to opacity. We also see that we're sort of like trying to be smart about adding and stacking all of those animations, so that's why they are kind of like different each and every time when I'm hitting plus button. But you can always change this and explore more options here. And if you're going to hit play button, it works. And let's talk a little bit about keyframes.
Yeah. So Daniela just showed being able to stack these pre-made animation styles onto a node. But when you want more fine-grained control, you're going to turn over to keyframes. She mentioned in the properties panel, you'll see that every animatable property has a little diamond stamp next to it. If you want to animate that property, first you set your playhead to the starting point of your animation. Then you can stamp one of the keyframes. So Daniela chose position there. We can then move the playhead to the next point in our animation or the ending points, and we can either stamp another keyframe or move the little motion gizmo that's now on the canvas over to our ending position. We call him Mo. We're a big fan of Mo. And if you press play, you've got your animation. Now, this one's a little bit basic, a little linear animation from left to right. So let's say we want to smoothly move this object across the canvas. What we can do is select the easing bar in the center of those keyframes, and we get this little easing adjustment panel on the right-hand side. We can choose from a preset few types of easing. What do you think we should do, Daniela?
Yeah, I think that I kind of like ease in. What do
Yeah.
you think about that?
Yeah, let's do ease in. Ease in's a classic, right? It lets you do a little bit of a ramp up to your animation. And so you can kind of see that this animation picks up right at the end there. We can also add some custom easing styles here if we'd like, so you can adjust those directly in the panel. Daniela's adding a little bit of overshoot there, so maybe we just pop it all the way up. And you'll notice if we do an overshoot, the animation will go beyond that last keyframe. Nice, so we can get a little bit of a spring there at the end. Fantastic.
Pretty cool.
Awesome. Now, 2 keyframes does not an animation make, or it's a basic one, but we want to add a little bit more flair to this one. So how about we add a few more keyframes to that first animation, Daniela?
Yep.
And in here, we can move the playhead between those first keyframes, continue to move the motion gizmo, and add in a few more. Maybe we can make it, I don't know, what do you think? Maybe we should make it like pop up and down.
Oh, yeah, I kind of like this, yeah.
I like it. Awesome. Get a little bit of a bounce to this object, and if we play it, we can see it follow those same animation curves with that overshoot. But this is a little bit jagged, so how about we smooth out those corners? If you hover over any of those keyframes, you can hold Command and pull, and you'll get a nice smooth curve through your animation. We can do that on every keyframe we add here, and get a lot more fine-grained control over the path that our animation is moving through. Awesome. So this is great. We've shown some pre-made animation styles. We've shown a few keyframes. But let's take a look at some of the library of pre-made animation styles that Figma is going to offer to you starting today. If you select a node that doesn't have any animation, you might not know how to start. Next to that plus button in the animations panel, there's also a little styles dropdown. When you press that, there's a set of pre-composed animation styles. If we go through, you'll see there's entrance animations, some cycle-based animations, some exits. When you select one of those, I don't know, what should we choose? Maybe like an entrance?
Maybe something like slap.
So let's try it. This is a slam animation coming in from the top. It'll pop a few of those animation styles onto the timeline for you. This one's a little bit, I don't know, this one feels a little bit fast for me, so why don't we extend it out? We can go to these pre-made presets. We can extend them a little bit longer. And the timing of all of those animations will kind of move in sync with one another. So this is just one of the many that we've added. If we zoom out here, we can see just a few of them kind of working in concert with one another. Down here in the pre-made section there. Great. And if we zoom out here on the canvas, we're going to see kind of a set of 16 or 12 of the animation styles that we've created for you today. We want to hear from you all in terms of what you'd like to see in this preset section. And maybe soon, there will be some opportunities for you all to create pre-composed animations for your teams as well, custom to your org. Great. Now, yeah, I'll take a woo. I'll take a clap. That's pretty great. This is all happening in Figma in real time. Awesome. And you probably heard today that there's a lot of new agents capability inside of Figma. Motion is no different. You're able to build motion with the Figma agent as well. Here, we've got a basic Figma logo, vectorized, 5 different pieces. And let's say we're not sure where to start. Either we can add those manual pre-made animation styles or keyframes, or we can prompt the agent to create animation for us. So if we select these nodes, there's a little agents icon, and we can put in a prompt for us. Let's say, I don't know, we pre-generated a little prompt here. We're on stage at config. Please don't screw this up for us. Make it fly in from the sides. We're going to send that off to agent. And while that cooks, we're going to show you a few animations that we've pre-baked before the session. Here's one that was made with agent, asking it to move this mouse, grab a keyframe, pull it to the side, And you can see this is a pretty capable animation that we then have the ability to edit after the fact. So if we take a look at the timeline and zoom out, it's a pretty sizable number of keyframes. Kind of getting to this starting point for a draft would be a lot of kind of tedious work up front. But this gives us a really great place to kind of begin our animation. We can then iterate in concert with that agent. Move on to the next one here. This one is a little bit more complicated. This was built by one of the people on our brand motion team. And what I love about this example is this was a mixture of manually created animation and agent-created animation. The config logo here, the C, the N, the F, the I, the G, were stubbed out by one of our brand motion team animators to start with. But that O animation has a number of tiny points in it. Kind of going through here and starting and stopping and hiding and showing all those little bits would be a really tedious piece of work. So Gilles on our team kind of worked with Agent to create a series of smaller components that were easy to stack. Once we had animation and kind of feel that we liked, we were able to stack those on top of each other and insert that into the animation after the fact. So really nice if you want to speed up your workflow in that way. Awesome.
Great.
So here's a set of animations actually made by Daniela with the agent. She created this little pixel vectorized logo for Figma. And then she asked the agent to create a series of riffs of animations for her. Now, trying to build all these by hand to start would be so much work to get started, but this helps us kind of look at a huge number of options really, really quickly. Each of these could be edited and animated on the timeline as well, but we can quickly kind of work through and see, all right, this is the vibe we're going for, this is the style, let's move in this direction, and kind of push the agent towards the animation styles that we're looking for. Then lastly, over here, we want to show a little bit of text animation. Now, Figma Motion doesn't have a full text animation suite yet, but these animations were created by stubbing out a few pieces of text, asking the agent, can we please vectorize this text and animate them in with some entrance and exit animations? And then once each of these individual pieces of animation were built, we were able to select that and ask the agent to compose those onto a single timeline to create this final text result. Now, this is pretty smooth. Getting started with that, doing that by hand would be quite a bit, right, of work. But getting the agent to kind of pull out each of those individual pieces, riff on each of those individual shots, and then pull that into a single composition was just such kind of a fun and playful workflow. Highly recommend it. It is really great. This is only 4 shots, but you could imagine if you had 10, 20, 30 shots of an animation that you needed to compose, asking the agent to put those all on a timeline, stagger them for you. These are great little kind of utilities that you can use to really build up the style of your animation. Awesome. Now, so that's agent. What do we think? Pretty fun, right? The agent understands keyframes, animation styles, and so you can ask it quite a bit about the pieces of the properties of the animation itself. Did that first one actually finish while we were up here?
I think so.
Awesome. So this is a great starting point for this Figma logo, just flying in from the sides. Now, we told the agent to speed up in our prompt, so it skipped over some reasoning. It might ask us questions if we kind of didn't ask it to speed up. But in this case, it's kind of nice. The objects on screen, end where we started, right? But if we wanted to, we could reference, hey, I want the orange and red bit to slam against each other a little more aggressively. I'd like the green chit here to come in from the bottom of the screen. We can kind of add in, more nuance here if we wanted to go for a few more iterations. Cool. So that's collaboration with the Figma agents. Now, Figma is known for collaboration not just with agents, but with your team, right? So we want to show you how you can collaborate with your team on these motion designs as well. Oh, and who's in here? Look at that guy. There's Dave. We miss you, buddy. Wish you were out here. So we want to show a couple of things that the Figma motion team has kind of integrated into multiplayer and commenting. Looks like Dave's been working on this animation for us. It's okay. Maybe we want to leave a comment. I don't know. Towards the end there, the cursor's looking a little bit kind of flat. What if we threw a comment to that spot? And as Daniela is adding a comment, you'll notice that there's a new timestamp on the comment for 0.8 seconds. You can add additional timestamps if you like. There's a little button in the comments panel where you can say, add an extra comment at 0.4, 0.5 seconds. It'll add wherever your playhead is. And that time is reflected not only in the comment, but also on the timeline. So you can easily kind of grok, like, where are my collaborators asking me to make an addition or a change, right? So that's great. We left a comment here earlier, and it looks like, yeah, we thought that we should change the animation, and it looks like Dave agrees. So go ahead, Dave, make those changes. So Dave's pulling that cursor up, and while he does so, we can actually watch the motion path update in real time. He's able to do things like move items on the canvas, like always. He can change the actual keyframes. If he wants to, he can change those easing curves that we showed before as well. And we can see all of that get edited in real time. We can also ask Dave to spotlight, because I don't know that we're kind of picking up what he's trying to do here. So Dave, why don't you go ahead and spotlight yourself? Oh, how are we doing? Any luck? Well, we can actually click on Dave to follow. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
awesome.
nice.
Thanks, Dave. So Dave's going to go ahead and spotlight. Great. And now in this state, we've actually synchronized the timelines together between Dave's machine and ours. This is really helpful. Let's say we're building this animation over a video call, or we're building this animation over a voice call. Without having to drop any kind of the visual effect, any of the fidelity, we're seeing this rendered in real time on both of our machines. If Dave moves that playhead around, we see exactly where he is in real time. So that's awesome. Dave, what do you think, man? Sick? It's all right. I think it's sick for a PM. That sounds good. I'm an EM, I'm one to talk. Cool. Well, I think we've got a couple of other sick features to show. Dave, why don't you come out and join us if you're actually here? Come on, man. Everybody, why don't we welcome Dave to the stage?
Hey, guys, I'm so sorry I'm late. I was just backstage practicing how to say beta. Beta? Right, where have we got to?
So we were already talking about animation styles and keyframes. We also have discussed a little bit like a granular control. We were talking about collaboration and agent.
Wicked. So we're ready then to jump into some properties and go a bit further? Awesome. So first up, let's talk about auto-keying. Adding keyframes can be pretty tedious. There's lots of movement back and forth. But if we look down on the timeline, we can see the auto key button. If you press that, what this is going to do is arm all of those keyframe properties on the right-hand side. Very good. And Figma is now going to listen to any change on the canvas or in the properties panel, and it's going to stamp those keyframes automatically. So it looks like we've got some position, rotation, and opacity. There we go. They've all been recorded. Super useful. So far we've only done a few properties, but let's talk about some more that we can also keyframe. We've got color. Nice. Look at that go. Not really sure that's the best product animation. What have we got? Oh, look at this. Amazing. Wow. It really draws you in, this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh. Brilliant, brilliant. Now, again, not the most amazing product animation, but I thought it'd be hilarious to see this animation on this big screen. Let's move on and look at stroke width. Yes, we can animate stroke. The property is where it always is. It's now got a keyframe stamp next to it, and you can do it. I always forget about this one, but this one always reminds me to buy some new blinds. Great. Next up, path trim, one of my absolute favorites. We can animate the start position and the end position. And it's worth calling out the properties panel here because we have brought these properties top level within motion mode. Thank you, Figma Draw, for these features. And what can we do with this? Wow, yes, when we start getting comfortable with path trim, we can do crazy things like this. This is from our friend Piers. He's going to show you much more cool stuff like this later. And I think we've also got the path trim from the keynote down here as well.
Oh,
No
yeah,
shaders on
absolutely.
it this time, but yeah, path trim really, really effective for animation. We got a Figma classic next, arcs. Also, worth pointing out the properties. Dana, do you mind hovering over these? Because I can never remember what the properties are called for arcs. Just hover over.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it's start,
sweep,
sweep, and ratio.
Yeah, super, super handy if you're making gauges or dashboards or anything, similar where you want to sweep in over an arc. So you might have noticed this one from the keynote. There we go. Really, really handy for that. Last up on our property hit list, we've got points on a shape. So here we are animating the count property from, is it 3 to 6?
Yep.
I'm not that fast at counting, yeah. And we might use this on something like an icon. Have we got something below? There we go. So I think on this one, we go from a 4-point to a 6-point, make this cog shape appear. It's really fun to animate. We've had so much fun experimenting, mixing all of these things together. One of the tricks that you can use is to combine styles and keyframes together. So in this example, we've got the scale controlled by keyframes, and then the rotation is controlled by a style. So you can mix these two things together really fluidly, doesn't make a difference. Let's see, there we go, a more advanced animation. Dana and Luca showed this one earlier. It's the one that has nested components. So all of those components contain keyframes, and then what we've done is we've brought those components in, and we're controlling them all with a single scale preset. Really, really easy to use. Now, this wouldn't be Figma unless we talked about variables. We've added 2 new variable types for Figma Motion. We've added easing and timing. You can add them directly within the variables panel or from within the styles properties or keyframe easing panel too. And when oh yeah, feel free, please. Obviously, when they are variables, you can control them centrally, and we've got some modes set up on this as well, right? So what modes of, what have we got? We've got standard.
Yeah,
So we're
right,
seeing
standard.
a set of variables applied there that's standard. Next up, we've got expressive. Try that expressive one. What's happening there? Oh, that is expressive, isn't it? And smooth. Very, very smooth. So what this means is that if you want your dark mode animation, a different vibe to your light mode, you absolutely can. Dana's gonna mix and match there to her heart's content. So
Yeah,
this
maybe here we could try expressive.
expressive.
I'm not sure, maybe smooth. And I kind of prefer dark mode, I guess, right?
Nice. Really good. Thank you very much. Look, it's been a flying visit for me. I'm very, very sorry. I need to go and do some really important PM stuff, like stand over an engineer and ask them if it's finished yet.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate it, dude. Awesome. Well, very cool. So we saw a little bit of the basics. We got into some of the more kind of fine-grained details that you can edit with keyframes and all those lovely properties. Definitely take a look at every animatable property in that panel. But we've kind of touched a little bit on those design systems aspects that we love in Figma. A little bit of variables, we've mentioned components, and we think there's kind of no better example. Hang on to that one, thank you. There's no better example for a components workflow than one of the shots that was created for that intro video we played as we walked on. This is kind of a real copy-paste from one of the brand motion Figma files that were used to build that intro video. The way the motion team was working was they broke each of their shots into an individual page, and like we just kind of found them doing this as they were playing with the tool while we were building, and it kind of turned into this awesome, creative, collaborative workflow for the team. They were able to take those components I mentioned, build out animations and steps. So here's like a little flower bloom. All the arrows and stuff just came straight from their file. They were building these flows out as they built it. They would take those and stack these components one on top of each other by pulling instances out and bringing them in. And these would kind of bring one into another. They were able to riff on different subsections here, maybe pulling in different pieces of the animation and actually see how those would stack into one another. And then in the end, they were able to build out these full compositions without losing the context of any individual piece of that animation working with one another. So it's really awesome to work in this way with a large team. You're not stuck in your own file on your machine, having to copy and paste and send those around for motion, which is just kind of an antiquated workflow. We're bringing the classic Figma workflow to these motion topics. Now, this is a stellar animation in my eyes, Daniela, but is there, I don't know, I would never critique some of the brand motion team's work, but since you're a designer, you're allowed to. Do you want to give maybe a recommendation, maybe something we should try to change here?
I think this animation looks really amazing, but I'm kind of wondering, this flower is basically not following all the design palettes, so maybe you could just change this to pink color, for example, because the rest of cards are kind of pinkish, so maybe we could adjust this. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I see that, right? The little pink kind of florets on the side there. Yeah, we can do that with a really simple workflow. Since this is all built up with components, we can just go over here to this first component. We can select a piece of the component that we want to change, say, I don't know, about circle 4, that sounds good to me, and maybe add in one of those colors that we were using from beforehand. And because this is a component and animation workflow in Figma, that color is then sent all the way through down to the final composition without us losing any of the animated context from the rest of the animation. Now that is a pretty fun workflow. You don't have to worry about a design changing upstream and then having to bring that down into a separate product in order to kind of keep your designs in check. It all just works with Figma design systems. Pretty great.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it works with the other Figma tools that you've come to know and love, things like prototyping.
So in this particular example, you see a pretty basic prototype with just a simple back and forth interaction. So if you're just going to go to Prototype tab, you see that we have a pretty simple connection here in just move in animation, I think, and it works pretty simple, I guess. So let's just try to open this in Prototype view and have a look how it works. And you see that this frame basically using animation frame inside. So that's why we have this incredible animation over here. And let's just try to click on Add Goal button, and amazing. This is also another animation frame inside Prototype, and we see that it's even possible, I think, to click on this. Do you think it's going to work?
Yeah, definitely. So that animated component in the background has a few new actions on it that let me click and pause the timeline at any given place. You can also set the timeline position, and that's all just done inside the Prototype tab. When you have an animated component, you can add your clicks, your hovers, your scrolls, and you can do things like toggle the animation timeline, set the playhead position to set a few of those basic interactions. This is just some basic prototyping. We have some more stuff coming on the way. Maybe in the sneak peek section, we'll show you a few things. But yeah, those animations just work inside of prototyping with the triggers and actions system.
Amazing. So also in Keynote, you might have heard about shader effects. And in this example, shader fill has been applied to this particular frame, and you can see that just with 2 keyframes, we were able to animate this. And if you're going to go to the property panel, you're going to see that to this particular frame, cloud fill has been applied. And we have a lot of different properties here, but only face property has been animated with just the 2 keyframes. But if you want to adjust this, or maybe play with this a little bit more, it's also possible to animate each and every keyframe in this particular shader. And it's also true to any shader fill.
Yeah, it's really fun just kind of coming in here, playing with the properties of each of these shaders, adding in little keyframes, and kind of playing through. That was not a fun animation, so I might want to change the easings later. But this is just a taste of what effects and motion can do together. Definitely recommend you all go to the effects deep dive, I think happening later today. It is going to melt your brains. It is incredible what you can build with these effects.
Yep.
Awesome.
Amazing. And you also might have heard about plugins. And in this particular example, I have built this a really simple stagger effect animation. And it's actually pretty easy to control this just with 2 different bars, right? But let's say that we have actually not 4 different circles, but 10 or maybe 100 or maybe even more. And in this example, we were trying to use this incredible plugin that our friend Migi has been building. And that's basically mean that if I'm going to try, or if Luca going to try to select all of the circles, and down here, like in the properties panel, you're going to see this stagger timing tool, which basically going to allow you to like change stagger effect, stagger delay, duration, easing, like literally everything. And you're still going to be able to see all of those different keyframes and presets, so you still have like a full control over this timeline. But you have like an additional panel to control this, which is great.
Yeah, really, really fun. Building out these little plugins that kind of help your animation workflows kind of just in situ. You know, you might have a little problem that's coming up and kind of egging at you while you're building out your animations. You can easily build a tool that extends to this. This is also just a taste of what you're going to see. We also have a generative plugins deep dive that you're not going to want to miss coming up later on as well. Cool. And, oh, yeah, sure, for sure. Generative plugins are sick. Definitely play with them. Now, we don't just want to keep our animations inside of Figma. We want to be able to bring them to other experiences as well, namely Figma Make. So if I've got an animated component inside of Figma, I can easily copy and paste this object into a make file, or come over here, build out a new make, and just Command-V paste that in as an attachment. When I do so, I'm able to pass the animation properties as well as the design properties over to make. I can say something like, let's recreate this animation with React and motion.dev. We can kick off this, this creation. And in the background, Figma Make's going to understand the timings, the styles, the colors. If I'm using other aspects of my design system while I'm building out this animation, it should be able to recreate it. Now, let's see. While this generation is kicking off, we've got one that we built beforehand, but I want to see if we can get this one going quickly. Being able to bring over all of that animation context in addition to the base design context is so useful for quick prototyping. This is obviously just a basic component example, but all of this is rebuilt inside of web code. Yeah, really great. Now that's a super simple example, but we will have a more extensive one with kind of a generic code base in MCP in a sec. But in addition to being able to export these to Make, you might also want to work with workflows like Figma Weave. Here's a phenomenal little Figma logo animation created by our designer, James. I think when I copied it in there, that little pixel off, that's my fault, not his fault. I'm sorry, James, please don't hurt me. Here's your animation. And we can take this animation, export it as a video, and bring it over to a Figma Weave workflow. Now this one, pretty fun. This one might look a little bit intense. It's very similar to the workflow that Itai showed in the keynote. And what it's doing is it's grabbing some stylings from an image. It's then taking that image, building out kind of a custom little Figma logo here with some image style transfer. And then it's using a few prompts to build a prompt that kind of understands the context of those original images. We can then use that to generate a final style transferred video right here that builds up with that same animation timing in 3D in this case. And we can do that with a number of images as well. So this is a reusable workflow. I can bring in an image, that I've generated and pull out, a series of different videos that just kind of work together and build them out in these Weave workflows. Pretty fun, right? Incredible results. Reusable workflow. Awesome stuff. Definitely check out the Weave deep dive. I keep calling out the deep dives, but they are fantastic. Great. So that is exporting to Weave. I mentioned video export. If you head over to the export panel, you might notice that it got a little bit of a makeover. In addition to static exports that you've always added, we also have this new animated export tab. In here, we have a few different formats of animation that you can export today. We're working on a few more. But we've got MP4, WebM, GIF, and SVG, animated SVG, that you can bring into your websites. We can export it at different sizes, resolutions, frame rates. Pro Plus plans have access to 4K 60 FPS exports as well. And just hitting that export tab will open up a video export workflow that you can bring in anywhere. Now, in addition to these video exports, we also want to see how we get these animations into larger production code bases in addition to Make. If you'd like to do that, here's I have a nice little animated bento that we saw earlier in the keynote. This is a lot of different pieces of animation. Converting this by hand to an animated workflow would be a real pain. If we head on over to dev mode, though, we now have a few new tools that you can use to hand this animation off to a production team or use it on your own if you're bringing in some of that design engineer vigor. So here, I'm going to open up the timeline. And in dev mode, we get this read-only timeline view. So if you have someone on your team maybe is not as comfortable inside of a Figma design editing experience, you're gonna be able to come over here and see the full animations in this nice focus view without the distractions of anything else on the canvas. You're also gonna be able to move the playhead, take a look at individual animations, and when you select individual animated items, either on the canvas or inside the timeline, you're also gonna see on the right-hand side that we have generated code assets for each of these animations. So CSS, React in Motion, and JSON outputs. I know, it's awesome, right? You're not losing the context of your animations, the timings, the colors, everything, as you're bringing them over to a production code base. Now, doing this by hand is certainly possible if you'd like, but you can also copy this little example prompt up here in the MCP section, and you'll be able to bring that into your LLM of choice, and it's gonna be able to get all of the context from these animations and rebuild them in a real production code base. If we switch to the slides for a second, we've actually got a video right here of that same animation built with an LLM, and we've pulled all the animation context out and asked it, can you actually make a brand motion site from this initial animation? All of this is recreated in web. The animation timings and all the different colors are built in as well. Really fun stuff. So full production end-to-end animation to product output. Pretty fun. Great. Now, so those are the basics of Figma Motion. That's how you get started. We'd love to see what you all make. We also want to show you a couple of the things that our team is currently developing. And as Dave said, Figma Motion is in beta. So we are looking for feedback. We want to hear what the community would like to see out of this animation tool. Here's a few of the things we think you'd love. First up, we have user-created animation styles. So if you want to build out an animation, you're able to create maybe your brand's entrance animation, package that up into a reusable style, and share that across your team. You're then going to be able to apply that to any node and see that animation come to life on any object inside of your design system. Pretty great. In addition to the basic interaction and prototyping tooling that we showed, we're looking to extend out the ability to control transition animations. When you know what two states are gonna look like, sometimes you just need to say, hey, I need this property to come in half a second later, right? And so we're gonna be building out additional extensions to our transitions capability inside of Figma Design. So that's a couple of fun features that you can see. If you come over to the product studio, we've actually got members of the team there with some laptops out. You can actually try these features today and give us feedback on them. We have a number of other things coming up, things like user styles, new export formats, text animation systems, video on the timeline. We are really trying to build this into the best motion design tool for you all, and we cannot wait to see what you all make with it. Thank you so much. Have fun in Figma and enjoy config.